City of Cotati. Both of the items, F2 and F3 on the agenda, they're adjacent properties, and the applicant is the same on both of these properties. So I'll start out just by talking about the setting a little bit for both of them, and then move into the individual discussion.
But before you start, just for my benefit, as these properties are right next to each other by the same applicant, why aren't we considering these as one item versus two? I mean, there are differences, yes, but still, I'm just curious about that.
It's simply because if you wanted to address one of the items separately, provide comments separate, or take a different action on one of the items separate, this way they're bifurcated. We can either move them both forward, or you can choose to deal with them independently.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
I have no objection if we want to consider them at the same time. Since I've reviewed the plans, they are very similar.
Right.
We would want to do that.
I certainly can talk about them together, and then we could just take two separate recommendations.
Any objection to that? Okay, so let's proceed on that basis. If we get to an issue that separates them, we'll go back to that.
Okay.
Please proceed.
So these are adjacent properties. They're at the end of Cervantes Court, at the terminus of the court. They're the last two properties to be developed as part of the Twin Creeks subdivision, which was a nine-parcel subdivision approved in 2000. So these are the last two remaining parcels. That area is very low density, so these are single-family dwellings on half-acre properties for the most part. And Cotati Creek runs along the back of these properties, which is the eastern portion of the properties. And there's setbacks from that creek, and that's a wooded creek, if you're familiar with it. It's wooded with oaks, and there were eucalyptus in there, but those were removed as part of the subdivision improvement process. So the first home is, let's talk about 113 Cervantes Court. This is item F2. It starts on page 8 of your packet. This is a 2,962 square foot single-story ranch-style home with a 488 square foot garage. Approximate height of 21 feet 2 inches from grade. Uses horizontal siding throughout with asphalt shingle, and you can see the color selection and shingles behind you on the color boards. It does include a front porch, setback garage that is part of our standards. It includes landscaping, which is fine. It complies with our WELO ordinance. The only change that staff is recommending at this point, we did spend some time with them getting to meeting our design standards, but what we think would help to just increase its compatibility with the neighborhood. If you do look at the homes in there, you do see a lot of use of stone, either in the approach on the porches or as a veneer type feature. And we're asking that they include that and actually both, we're making that same recommendation for both of the residences. So the other residence is at 117 Cervantes Court. This is right adjacent to it. And this is a 2,657 square foot home, single story again, with a 465 square foot garage. This one has a hipped roof, similar to the other one, but it has gabled ends, street facing gabled ends. It uses horizontal siding, except for the gabled ends, which will have a shingle. So that kind of, it's not the second story, but that gabled portion. Again, has a front porch, setback garage, and landscaping that complies with our water efficient landscape ordinance. And again, we're recommending as a condition of approval the use of stone veneer or incorporating it into the porch design. And with both of these, we're recommending that the Design Review Committee recommend that the Planning Commission approve both preliminary and final design review. And we're hoping to have that meeting on May 15th. And with that, I'm available for any questions, and I see that the applicant is now here. And so, thank you.
Let's begin. Any questions of staff? Excuse me, any questions from the committee for staff? All right, I'll throw one out here. As the environmental review was conducted in 2000 and an M&D was prepared, and I understand the purpose of stating that there haven't been any substantial changes to the approved design and all that, but are there any city standards or ordinances that have changed in the past 17 years since that, or is that bound into the conditions of approval?
Where you're going to see, the changes that have happened are primarily related to water quality aspects and the landscaping. The landscaping was reviewed for compliance with our new water efficient landscape ordinance, and the engineering department is reviewing the engineering plans to ensure that they are meeting today's modern water quality discharge requirements. Also, in 2000, the city used a concept called green points in trying to encourage energy efficiency in home design. Today, we use what's called Cal Green, and we have as mandatory at the city what's called the Tier 1 Cal Green. So that has replaced the green points system. So those types of things, energy efficiency, and those have changed. The environmental document, the CEQA document itself, is still valid. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead, Lars.
Just one question. I think all the homes that are built out there are two-story, and these are one-story. Did that come up at all in your discussions with the applicant, or is it part of the subdivision approval that was done?
All of the homes up there are two-story, with the exception of the home at 124 Cervantes, who this developer also developed that property. When the initial application came in, there were some design problems that we identified right away in terms of how garage placement and front entry. And the concern came from them that they wouldn't have enough square footage to meet what we were asking them to do, internal square footage, living space. And we encouraged a two-story design to address those problems. We certainly didn't require it. We encouraged it. This is what they ultimately came forward with. So.
I would add that our current code requires 10% of the units in a subdivision to be single-story so that they can be built for universal access. So that's where JP, I think, started, was if one of the units was second story, then we would meet both of those, neighborhood compatibility and trying to approximate the 10% single story.
I have another question on the conditions. Okay, let's see where it is. It's on page 14. Okay, item N, the M as in Mary. The city blow-off in the sidewalk shall be indicated on the plans. My recollection is I don't remember what city blow-off is, and I know that I've asked this question before, but it seems like that was enough years ago that I need to have that explained to me because I'm not real clear what that is.
I'm a little unsure myself because this came from the engineering department, but I believe it's because it's the end of the water line And so it's a way where they can blow off air that's in the system. The water line comes up Cervantes Court. They're at the terminus of the court. And I believe that's what that is. You know what? I could, if you
Are we clear on that, Vicki?
That's also my recollection.
Okay.
That it's, since it's not a looped water line, they want a place to relieve pressure from the line.
I didn't want to blow it off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Let's just take another minute here and go through this one more.
I have actually one quick question. So you're encouraging the use of stone to work in the neighborhood, but is that been accepted by them? And when the drawings come back to the building department, they will have some stone on them, or what's the status of that?
I don't know. We haven't had an opportunity to talk about that particular condition. I will say it's very similar to what they did do, and I believe what we asked them to do at 124 Cervantes. I wasn't here during that, but if you were to look at it, that includes a stone veneer as well. I don't think it's a onerous request.
My comment, I'm looking at the neighborhood right now, and there's not a lot of stone, and I actually think the plans are fine, just the way they are, with the hardy board horizontal site and the cedar shakes.
So you actually haven't, I read that in the report it's encouraged, but you actually haven't put that in as a condition yet.
He has. That's what I was going to clarify.
Okay.
So it currently is a condition. So if the committee as a whole decides that they don't think that's appropriate, we would need to remove that condition.
I got lost in the conditions. I was trying to look for that. Which,
It is condition 2 on page 11 of the first set, and probably also condition 2 of the second item.
okay. Thank you.
Correct. That was fine.
I would ask the applicant there to come forward and address their any concern about that condition.
Hello, I'm Gary Valstrak. I'm the landscape architect. I spoke with Mr. Doty, the applicant owner, and he said that if it came down as a condition of approval, he didn't have a problem with that, and he wanted to do something similar to what he had done on 124, which sounds like it's consistent with what the planner was looking for, but I'm sure that if the board decided it was not necessary, he would be equally happy about the plans as they exist.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay. Do we have any concern about the condition 2 for either design, or any issues with that?
I actually think it's not. It's a weaker design than what at 124 looks like a pastiche, and it's on a small portion, and it seems out of character with. That's my design critique.
Okay. Sorry, Sally. I'm sorry.
I would tend to agree, but I had kind of decided in my mind already that it could go either way. But my first reaction was also that it was not really adding anything to the elevation. So I would tend to agree that we don't need to do it.
I think there's there's stone used in other ways in the neighborhood too. Like one of the houses has sort of stone columns at the entry. I mean, there'd be, it could be at the porch. Somehow it's done as a low wall at the porch or with the columns, if that's really important. But again, it would start to feel like the little bit on that other house, like it's just a funny little bit of stone thrown on the house for what? So I think unless it was sort of substantially part of the design in a redo of the porch or wrapping the whole house as a wainscot, then I don't think it's really necessary.
If we would, it seems to me if we recommend elimination of that condition, it would allow the developer to build the house either way, essentially. So do we want a motion on that?
Would that be the protocol, or do we make a motion on the whole thing that includes removing that condition?
I think, yeah, it would be a motion with a clarification to remove that condition would be appropriate.
It feels like I don't know, I'd be happy to remove it. Seems like that's what's talked about.
Okay. Good to know. Anything else that we want to, before we kind of move really to act on this or not?
I just have one question. On both buildings, on the porch, there appears to be one post that is it's like a 4x4 post, different than all the other posts. And why that would be, I don't understand. Like it's kind of, on one of them there's like 5 posts that are thicker and are wrapped with some wood, it looks like, and then there's this one little spindly post on the porch.
You mean right here on by the 10? Oh, that one. Oh.
I thought that was, I didn't even realize that was a post. I thought that was the corner trim and that there wasn't, but then there's a post here, so that doesn't.
Yeah, it's just on one of the.
It's a post.
It's a post on the one of them for sure. On 113, it has a bigger porch.
So what's your question then? Let's put it that way. Why is that there on one and not the other, or is it there at all?
If they need a post there, either structurally or aesthetically, I'd make it look like the other posts. On address 113, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts. One has 4 of them have a base, have some detail, and one of them doesn't. So I would just think you'd make it consistent.
Would you like to step forward again? And if I ask you to come over right to the dais, we can point you exactly what we're looking at here. It's kind of.
But
Okay.
I do think it's corner trim.
Yeah, but on the plan, it
The
should,
plan has a post there.
So
Talking about this one.
but on this plan,
post,
it
post,
doesn't. But on
that's the
other
inset, that's
plan-
corner trim.
The other,
This is post in front of the corner.
Right.
the other,
On here, it shows it's supposed there directly in front, so that, I think it's a drafting error.
That reaches a drafting area to me. And I just can't, I've never met an architect that would have one
Yeah,
building
that's
that
right.
close.
And you've never been an architect who makes drafting errors either.
I know that in my office, that just never occurs. That's all I can speak to. No, but I'm comfortable in saying that it's drafting error and/or corner trim, but that we're not,
We'll just say all the posts have to match.
All the posts have to match, right?
believe me, I go with the building architect.
Okay.
Sir, if we could have you next time, if you feel the need to speak into the microphone for us and not approach the dais.
Yeah, thank you. That was
Okay.
yeah, I know. Yes, that was my fault.
so could I make a motion that all
Please do.
posts match the larger profile.
Let's wrap that into, if you would, a motion on the two applications, the two items here, if you would.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh,
You, go ahead.
If there's any other discussion.
Yes.
So,
It would be something like this. It would be something that I move that we approve the preliminary design review of, hello?
I have one more thing I want
Okay.
okay, so it's,
I
to, I
move,
didn't realize you were already.
well,
Okay, I have one thing I would just like a little discussion on because it's kind of bothering me. And that is on 117, on the site plan. No, not 117, 117, on the site plan. When I look at that, I just get this feeling that what you're going to see when you're out, like on the sidewalk, as the most prominent thing is the garage. And I can't decide if it's just because of the way I'm reading the site plan, which sort of, it looks like it minimizes the porch and the house entry and puts emphasis on the driveway, or because the property line that's on the north side is real, I mean, you're not going to see the property line, you're just going to see landscape there. So maybe it's just the way I'm reading the plan. And I keep thinking if the house were angled a little bit more counterclockwise, then the front porch would be more prominent and the garage would disappear a little, but then the driveway would be a little bit more complicated. So I just wanted somebody else's opinion on whether that's even going to make a difference.
in looking at this, you know, you have the setback for the creek.
Right.
You know, they've really
Yeah, I
sort of
was just
maximized the house in the space that they've got.
I was just thinking if this plan were just tweaked just a tiny bit counterclockwise to push that front porch to the west a little, but if nobody else thinks it's an issue, I will put my mind at rest that it's fine, that it's not going to make a big difference.
I'm the layperson here, so I can't say that it does to me.
Well, they may be constrained by the setbacks on both the creek and the side setback. So if you turn it, the building setback line is right, you know, it's pretty close to the edge of the building there on the north
Yeah,
side. So it seems like it would,
if it pivoted from this corner,
yeah, I think you,
that's good.
I would say it
There's
would,
not much leeway here.
yeah.
Okay.
I think like that it would dramatically change it enough to make a difference. That's
Okay.
what I would say.
It's fine. My mind is at rest.
Did you have something?
I was just going to clarify that the setback in that zone is 10 feet, and the little pop-out that's in there is probably already at the maximum.
Okay,
So right now, it meets probably the very minimums, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of room to rotate it.
okay. I won't worry about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question before the motion?
No, please.
Why is this only preliminary design review? Are we going to see some radical changes?
No, we're asking you to make a recommendation to the Planning Commission, which for them, it will be both preliminary and final. There was some confusion when you actually read it, and Vicki and I have had a number of discussions, and I thought that the DRC could only do the preliminary design review portion of it. To answer your question, I think it's all good, that we're going to do preliminary here and do preliminary and final at the Planning Commission, and the code does give us that opportunity to do it in that manner.
It's curious. I mean, pardon for this is a little bit inner working of the committee here, but I mean, I don't honestly know how the Planning Commission does its work. But I do know how this committee does. So I'm used to either doing preliminary or preliminary and final or final. We tend to do all those three. Now, we don't always see the projects when they come back. So I think what you were getting at is based on what we're seeing here, we feel like we could do both preliminary and final here today. Is that what you were saying?
Well, right, and typically, if we're reviewing only preliminary, we will see it again.
Yes,
And
agreed.
And that's for some reason.
Yes.
It seems like, which in this case, it doesn't seem like there's much there.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, so JP is asking you today to approve preliminary and final. And I think when we noticed it, we called it preliminary, but upon further evaluation of it, that what we're asking you for in the recommendation is preliminary and final.
okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so normally I try not to initiate motions, but let me see if I can put this together with as much free-form discussion. But go ahead. Okay, then let's do the comment first.
In bringing up the facade, I noticed that, which I hadn't noticed before, that the only windows facing the street are in the bedroom, which will likely have curtains, or that may be a home office. There's opportunity so it's fairly closed off from the street, even though there's a porch, which is supposed to be street-friendly and neighborhood-friendly. The fenestration is not, and there's great opportunity to have a window in the living room facing the street. All the light in the living room is on both houses is facing the fences, which provides more privacy, but may be contrary to design guidelines of Cotati's. I'm not sure. So I would recommend that a window or two, a pair of the double hungs, go in that living room facing toward the front yard.
Is that on both homes or just one of them? I'm sorry.
What's that?
Is that on both?
Oh, on both. On both homes.
Okay.
They're the same.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, comment on 113, one thing that does make that look more opened up to the street, I think, is there's side lights by the front door, but there aren't any on 117. Two, I mean. But I agree, I think the windows in the living room would be nice. It would be a good thing to do.
A question for staff. I haven't reviewed the city guidelines regarding that, but is that something that is recommended?
Our design guidelines do not address fenestration our specific plans do, but our citywide guidelines that are for residential, single-family residential, don't get into that kind of detail. They really expect the porch to carry that weight. I know JP has had his own concerns about that forward bedroom and how that doesn't really, seems odd, seems out of place to just add a fourth bedroom there where it is typically the more public areas of the floor plan. I think we had this discussion once before where our land use code doesn't really address floor plans, so we don't usually we wouldn't typically require things of floor plans. This committee, however, has that has that complete authority to recommend those things for other goals.
Okay.
I think it's a good suggestion. We came up on may have even been the last time we met, it was a bigger development where I brought up this very public-private thing, and you have this nice little porch, but everybody's going to be in the back of the building. So what's it's not giving you the kind of neighborhood eyes on the street feeling. So I'd go along with that as a recommendation.
Okay. I get it. So we should have a motion which basically approves preliminary and final design review of the two properties, 113 Cervantes and 117 Cervantes Court, with the following recommendations. That is the elimination of condition 2 for both houses. Why don't you state the windows, the recommendation that you just said?
My recommendation would be to add fenestration in the living rooms facing the street, and also taking up on adding side lights to both homes. A side light actually looks like, since the...
That's on, yep.
Yeah.
Which one?
That would be on, well, I kind of feel like if they add the living room windows, then maybe they shouldn't have, well, it would be nicer. Yeah. So that would be on 117.
Okay.
Single side light on 117.
Anything else to that? Lars, I forget now who said what or recommended what.
The other thing was just the posts on the porch to clarify that if there's posts, they look the same, basically.
Okay, and Sally, did you have anything else to that? Okay, so that's the motion. All right, is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on this motion?
I just have one comment. I'm not sure. I guess I will introduce it right now, which has nothing to do with the design. And this is probably a requirement. And it's something that hit us last time with a lot of dirt being removed from the project just off of Railroad. So there is a note that says that, all excess dirt be removed to a suitable site, which is great. And it looks like very little dirt is being removed. And so I'd like to just emphasize, since that is a city goal to have less dirt being removed to off-site, is that somehow we include, and I don't think it's even appropriate for this somehow, because it seems like there's very little will be removed, but somehow that there's some monitoring of amount of dirt being removed, or so that some statement that as much as possible that dirt that is graded stay on site.
Is that something that we can recommend, or?
It would be, well, it's something that staff is always looking at, especially during a tentative map or parcel map process. With these, the bulk of the drainage is really set by the existing street and the existing map that was done on it in 2000. So I think the grading quantities are probably resulting out of those major design factors that were done long ago. So we can certainly monitor it during the grading plan and improvement plan process, but I don't know that we'll be able to affect it much. But having said that, it was mass graded at the time the improvements were put in, and I think it's probably pretty close to what the final grades will be.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion on this motion?
I do have one other
Okay.
clarification, which is, I think is also drafting error. On the rear of 117, it calls out the horizontal siding to be hardy shingle, and I think that is an error. It's on the A1 east elevation, and I think that should just say hardy plank. On 113, it is hardy plank, and it's drawn the same way, so presumably, and also I don't care which one they do, for that matter. I just wanted to
I think
clarification.
I think the recommendation that be clarified in the record going forward.
And that's it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Let's vote, please.
Chair Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Member Connell,
Aye.
Committee Member Glendenning, Committee Member Lindberg.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. It's an interesting project. I kind of remember the last time we saw this. It looks like it'll be a nice neighborhood. Thank you. Moving on to the next matter, which is the chair and vice chair elections. I am the current chair. Eris Weaver is the vice chair. I've held this chair for, I lost count now, a while. It's been a while since we've done this, and we needed to do it. I'd prefer to have the whole committee here, but we don't. But we do have a quorum. So you had some remarks on that before we start?
Well, my remarks are probably more suited to reports by staff. I think they will affect our elections going forward, but I think for this year, we certainly need to elect officers, so I think we can go ahead and elect those and then come back to my comments.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any nominees for the chair or vice chair?
I nominate that the chair and vice chair continue in their current positions.
That's one nomination. Any other nominations?
I'll second that nomination.
Okay. Okay. So no further nominations. Let's vote on that, please.
So we can vote for the vice chair who's not here? Like, sorry, you have to do it again. You blew it.
We checked with Vice Chair Weaver, and she would be okay with it. But I think we should take the positions
Okay, we'll vote.
separate votes.
We'll vote for the chair first.
Chair Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Member, Committee Member Connell, Committee Member Glendenning, Committee Member Lindberg.
Aye.
Motion. Then I will continue to remain as the chair. Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you. And for the vice chair, please.
Chair Morgan,
Boy, call me last. Whatever. Aye. Yes.
Committee Member Connell, Committee Member Glendenning, Committee Member Lindberg.
Aye.
Thank you. We're more or less official again, and all that. Okay. That concludes the matters at hand. Let's go to reports by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of project updates. The next project that you all will be seeing will be final design review for the Cotati Station project. That's the multi-family development out at the train station. They've submitted their plans, and there are a couple of relatively minor edits to those, and I think we're ready to go. The thing that we've focused a lot on is the park, and so we have a follow-up meeting with them to sort of get a meeting of the minds, so to speak. So I think you'll be seeing that project in the next 4 weeks or so. And we have a few projects in the pipeline that are working through that we don't have as close of dates set for yet. And one of those is another project that JP is working on, Katati Village, which is the mixed-use project out off 116, where the cottages are, Katati Cottage, the shingled townhomes that are off Alder and Highway 116. Has been an approved map that sits Highway 116 side of that development, and that's the one I'm talking about. So that one should be coming before you in a bit as well. No date set yet. And then the Valparaiso project, as you may or may not have heard, had a couple of bumps in the approval process with the council, some neighborhood concerns that we've been working on. And that one is set to go back to the council on the 9th, next Tuesday. So we're looking forward to a final resolution on that one. And the last item that I had, I did want to mention that JP will be kicking off our wayfinding program he's putting together an RFP for a consultant to develop the wayfinding program. So you all will certainly be in that process quite a bit as the committee and as citizens, if you want to participate in that. So we're really looking forward to that as an opportunity to clean up signage and really give a real wayfinding program and organization to our systems. So we're all looking forward to that project. And what I wanted to say about the committee itself is that so we have the vacancy in the landscape position. Member West resigned that position. Carl Lampert is also going to need to resign the energy position. And so it's maybe time for us to decide what it is we're really expecting of the committee and how to best move forward. So I just want to put it out there that if any of you have thoughts or ideas about that, we always struggle to fill the discipline-specific positions because we also have the requirement of residency, so it's always a little bit of a mix and match to make sure that we've got the exact makeup of the committee that we need. So if you have thoughts or ideas about it that you've been thinking of in the time that you've been on the committee, if you wanted to email those to me, I'm going to be trying to develop a path for us going forward. I think for sure the number on the committee is going to get reduced because it's just a rather large committee for us, given all the other parameters that we have. So just want to put that out there, and I'll be coming forward if it would be nice to hear from you now if you would like me to give you an update on what I'm recommending to the council before I do that. I'm happy to do that. See if you have any feedback for me. But anyway, I know each of you and your professions are getting busier and busier as your own personal careers are getting busier and busier. So we all understand the limits, and so part of it is, making sure that we're accommodating you as you need to be accommodated. So, so that was it.
Thank you. Any reports by the commission? I have one. I will be out of the area between May 23rd and June 7th, just in case you have a meeting during that time. So, with that, let's adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.